Thank you for joining this week's Pound for Pound ATL, the Atlanta Falcons think tank. Hey, I'm Toby D, and as you know, if we think about it, we're going to talk about it. And boy, do I have one that I want to talk about and share today. Now, when I get to talking about this, what I'm about to talk about, you guys are probably going to say, Toby, that is the most dumbest thing you could ever say. I don't want to hear you talk about that again. But since I thought about it, I'm going to share it and let it out right now. Hey, if you have not subscribed to this channel before I get into this, please do so and make sure you hit the notification bell so that you can be sure to get all the alerts of any videos that this channel has to offer. And boy, we got some good ones coming out every week, so stay tuned. Other than that, let's jump right into it. Now, as you guys know, Terry Fontenot is, of course, the new GM of the Atlanta Falcons. And the reason why I want to talk about him is because in something in relation to what he did or was involved in back when he was with the New Orleans Saints. Now, I must admit, kind of rubbed me the wrong way when I heard Arthur Blank compare us to the New Orleans Saints back in 2019. It was around just about before the last game of the season against the Tampa Bay Bucks when him and Rich McKay basically confirmed that they were not going to fire Dan Quinn, but yet they was very excited and couldn't believe the miraculous turnaround that the Falcons had in the second half of the season. And so they were definitely ready to go into 2020 hoping that things could turn around. Now, it wasn't that Arthur Blank was trying to say we was going to have 3 7-9 seasons, but unfortunately, well, we had 3 losing seasons, just like the New Orleans Saints had at one time before they did this one thing that kind of helped turn their organization around, thus helping them to win the division from 2017 all the way to 2020. And we're going to get to talking about that right now. Now, of course, many of you may remember this New Orleans Saints had just came in second place in the division under the first division winners, which was the Carolina Panthers at that time, who went 13-3, if I'm not mistaken. The New Orleans Saints went 11-5. They went up to Seattle and eventually got beat by the eventual Super Bowl champions, the Seattle Seahawks. That next year in 2014, they felt that they needed to add another weapon to Drew Brees, and thus they went out and drafted Brandon Cooks with that number 20th overall pick in the first round. Now, of course, Brandon Cooks was 21 when he came out. And the reason why I'm mentioning his age is because into a relation to another player that the Falcons may look into doing this same thing with. Now, in the 3 seasons that Brandon Cooks was with the New Orleans Saints, Brandon Cooks amassed 2,861 yards and 20 touchdowns. But in that time span he was with the New Orleans Saints, guess what the Saints records were? 7-9, 7-9, 7-9. Now, it was nothing against Brandon Cooks because he delivered the way that he needed to for the New Orleans Saints, but he was not the piece that they were hoping would get them over the hump and make them possibly get into a Super Bowl opportunity, which they hadn't been in for such a long time. So they had a decision to make because it came up on his 4th year. And usually in that 4th year, after you sign someone out that first round, you have the option to pick up their 5th year option. And they had to make a decision, and they did. They decided to trade Brandon Cooks to the unfortunately Super Bowl champions, the New England Patriots, because they beat us, the Atlanta Falcons, and therefore it made them be the last team in the first round at 32 who gave up that 32nd pick for the trade of Brandon Cooks and also gave up a 3rd round pick for Brandon Cooks. Therefore, since after that time in 2017, it was a spark for them because they was able to stack up picks, leaving them with 6 picks in the first 3 rounds, ladies and gentlemen. They had 2 if I'm not mistaken, they had 2 in the first round. They had the 11th pick and the 32nd pick. And then they had the 2nd round, and they had a bunch of 3rd round picks to be able to build them picks up and do some great things in that draft that helped spark them. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But they used Brandon Cooks as trade bait to be able to help them to retool their team and to reestablish a winning culture in New Orleans. And with those picks, some of you know some of these guys they pick. Yes, you may have the touchy-feely Marcus Lattimore, but he has been a valuable piece for the New Orleans Saints, helping them to be able to win the division 4 years in a row on that defense. And you know about Ryan Ramczyk, who is the right tackle, if I'm not mistaken, of the New Orleans Saints right now, and also Alvin Kamara, what they took in the 3rd round, who has also been an instrumental piece to the New Orleans Saints. That draft for them in 2017, guys, all of those guys are contributing right now till this day, and it has definitely helped them. Now, we don't know where their future might be right now because just like us, they are in cap trouble because of some of the moves that they have made, but you're hoping that Terry Fontenot can bring some of that, as Jimmy likes to say, that cap voodoo over here and work some magic because of our cap situation that we are currently in right now. But this person that I want to talk about in parallel that I believe that Terry Fontenot could take a look at and explore that option is, if you see number 18 on my jersey, yes, it is Calvin Ridley. Now, hear me out for a minute. Calvin Ridley has had 3 great seasons so far for the Atlanta Falcons, amassing 3,061 yards and 26 touchdowns. Now, that's 6 more touchdowns than Brandon Cooks and a few more yards than Brandon Cooks had. Calvin Ridley also, like the New Orleans Saints, was someone drafted in 2018 after the Falcons in 2017 for that season, got eventually knocked out of the divisional round against the Philadelphia Eagles, who eventually went on to win the Super Bowl after coming in, if I'm not mistaken, 2nd place in the division behind the New Orleans Saints. So when they took Calvin Ridley, a lot of us were scratching our head because we were like, we don't need someone like a Calvin Ridley with Mohamed Sanu and Julio Jones already on this roster, but they felt they did. But since Calvin Ridley has been here and nothing of the doing of Calvin Ridley, the Atlanta Falcons have gone, guess what? 7-9, and the latest 4-12. We have not had any winning seasons since Calvin Ridley has been here. And there's a combination of things that have caused that, defense being one of the major factors, which is why some of you do not want to take a quarterback in number 4, and you would rather bolster the defense up to help, if Matt Ryan is going to stay here, build that defense to be able to do something under Dean Pease. We shall see how the draft unfolds. But this trade partner that I have, that I believe that if Terry Fontenot follows this similar path that he followed with Brandon Cooks, that they can trade to, has projection of 9 to 10 picks, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, excuse my fingers, they just working all kind of ways that they want to work. And if this person is anything like their mentor, they're going to feel like they can make a move like this with the Atlanta Falcons. And that trade partner right now that I'm thinking of is Brian Flores with the Miami Dolphins. Now, we've already done business with the Miami Dolphins when we traded for Charles Harris to try to bolster our defensive line. So they would be very familiar with us as an organization, even though Thomas Dimitrov won't be heading things up. I would definitely be looking into trying to see if I could get that 18th overall pick from the Miami Dolphins in that 1st round, because they already have the 3rd overall pick right before us, and see if I can possibly swing that 50th overall pick from them for what they have going into this draft from the Houston Texans. If I'm able to get that, now the Falcons have 2 first-round picks at 4 and 18. They wouldn't even have to move down from number 4. They can stay right where they are and possibly simulate something that they did with the New Orleans Saints in 2017 when they took Marcus Lattimore at number 11 with that number 11 overall pick, and pick themselves a nice cornerback at 18 for Dean Pease and the Atlanta Falcons. That will be interesting to see if they're able to do this and follow some of the same roadmaps when they took an offensive lineman with the 32nd pick in Ryan Ramczyk, and they took Alvin Kamara in the 3rd round, and I believe Marcus Williams, another cornerback, was one of the guys they drafted If you look at that draft class for that 2017 season, ladies and gentlemen, all of these guys are still very instrumental to the New Orleans Saints today and was major contributors in helping the New Orleans Saints get things back right. And if somehow we are able to, and Miami might not be the choice, if we should decide to look into the option of trading Calvin Ridley. But the reason why I talk about Miami is because, yes, the Miami Dolphins can go out and draft in this deep wide receiver class and take Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner from the Alabama Crimson Tide, and join him up with his familiar quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, or they can go with a veteran presence that has already been proven in the NFL, already ran routes in the NFL, already has played against many teams in the NFL, NFC, AFC, does not matter, and has the amount of production that he carries at 26 years old, giving them the opportunity to reunite him with Tua Tagovailoa, who both of them were the ones who put the dagger in the Georgia Bulldogs, another hurtful game for all of us as Georgia fans. Y'all remember that Calvin Ridley catching the winning touchdown, and ironically, we end up drafting him the next year. But you get a chance to see what you could do with trading someone like a Calvin Ridley at a young age. Now, many of you may say, I told you I don't want to do that. I'd rather trade an agent Julio Jones and see what we can get for him. And don't get me wrong, that could possibly happen. Although I don't believe Matt Ryan will go anywhere, Julio Jones could be someone that could be looking into and investigating and see if there's a possible trade out there that they can do to get Julio Jones off of their books and be able to pick up some picks for him because he is still playing at a very high level, even in his early 30s. But the reason why I say that right now is because, we haven't heard anything about Keanu Neal. Not Keanu Neal, but Calvin Ridley, his extension or his 5th-year option. Now, when Thomas Dimitroff was here, at first in 2019, it was already put out there back in January that year that they were picking up Keanu Neal's 5th-year option. And that's exactly what they did in April to cover for the 2020 season. Now, maybe Terry Fontenot or Arthur Smith are still looking into things and seeing if that's a decision they want to make. But it could very well also be that this is a path that Terry Fontenot may take because he's seen what it did for the New Orleans Saints. And if we're able to pick up a lot of picks in this draft, we could have a chance to pick up some very valuable players that could help this team win sooner than later. Now, that's all I have to say about it. I would like to see what your thoughts is going to be on it. If you think it's something stupid to do, or it may be something interesting that triggers your mind to thinking that we could do it because of the similar parallels that the New Orleans Saints had as opposed to also the Atlanta Falcons. Other than that, thank you for joining this week's Atlanta Falcons Think Tank. I'm Toby D. Peace. I'm out.